Welcome to TRS Clips, the channel that we hope is like a brain workout for you. Let's take Kundalini
Sure.
to begin with. Let's take a tangent here.
Okay.
If someone's never heard the word Kundalini and they're of a scientific temperament,
Okay.
like they think science first,
Okay.
I'd love for you to explain what Kundalini is to that person and then also give me a definition for people who are fully open to these spiritual concepts.
Okay. So the problem with that, love what you're asking. The problem with that is even if I give a definition to a skeptic is not going to understand, right? I can define it, but they're going to be like, this thing isn't real.
Okay, say if they're not a skeptic and they're spiritually open, but just want some scientific backing.
Okay. That's hard, but let me do what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing is there's this idea. Okay. So like a couple thousand years ago, there was this guy named Gautam Buddha, and then he becomes enlightened, right? So there's this idea in these Eastern meditative traditions of something called enlightenment, which is like this permanent change. It's not like a temporary state, right? It's like something happens to this guy. He used to be a regular dude, and then something happens to him, and then suddenly, like, people start gravitating towards him, and he starts teaching people, and the stuff that he teaches profoundly affects people's lives. But he's not the only one. There are people like in the Hindu tradition, we have Rama, or Krishna. You know, we have these different kinds of like enlightened beings. Arguably in the Christian tradition, there's this dude named Jesus, but something was different about Jesus. There's a certain divinity about him. So first thing is that there's this concept of enlightenment, which we call moksha or nirvana. And so that's like something that can happen to some human beings. And arguably, there's historical evidence that at least some human beings were different, right? There were these people that started religions. So that's the first thing we have to understand.
Can it happen to all human beings?
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
But let's understand that there is something that happens to people that makes them different, to where like they walk around and they open their mouth and a religion is born around them. They don't usually try to start a religion, right? They're not opening up a shop and saying, hi, come and worship me. They just start teaching human beings and then a religion pops up. So there seems to be this state of moksha. So Kundalini, now you're asking, can it happen to Kundalini? I mean, can it happen to human beings? And what I would say is, okay, how does it happen? We'll figure out if it can happen to everybody in a second, but how does it happen? So one theory of how this spiritual progression happens is this thing called Kundalini Shakti or Kundalini energy. So there's some weird energy that sits at the base of our spine. And as we spiritually develop, as we spiritually level up, right? So if we think about how do I level up my muscle, if I lift weight, my muscle will hypertrophy, it'll grow, and then I'll be more capable. So we know that human beings can level up their physical body. So as you level up spiritually, this Kundalini energy rises along the back of your spine. And when it reaches the top of your head is when you become enlightened. So that's what Kundalini is. It's this weird mystical energy that can get upgraded, and as it becomes upgraded, will lead you to this moksha. Now, the fun thing about Kundalini is not so much the moksha part, which I know everyone's like. The fun thing is that as it rises through your different chakras, which are these energy centers, it like opens up and awakens certain things about your life. So I'll give you a quick understanding of when I do Kundalini meditation for my patients, I'll do it based on their chakra. So if it's in their Muladhara chakra, which is your base chakra, the Muladhara chakra governs your primal desires, so your animalistic needs. So when my patients have problems in their Muladhara, when their energy is trapped there, they run into addictions. So if you sort of think about what is an addiction, you know, there's a part of me that says I shouldn't eat these French fries. But then there's a more primitive part of me, the animal part of me. If I give French fries to a dog isn't able to restrain itself. So these people don't have power over their basic desires. Addictions, substance use addictions, that's a problem in Muladhara chakra. Swadhisthana chakra, the second one up, situated kind of at your pubis, governs a lot of our relationships. So when people have difficulty connecting with people, when they get addicted to relationships, when they are unable to have healthy relationships, I'll sometimes do Swadhisthana practices with them. Then comes a very important chakra for mental health, your Manipura chakra. So this is situated at your navel. This is where your Agni or digestive fire is. Now, what does that mean? So we as human beings have the capacity for metabolism. Metabolism is the ability to take something and turn it into something else. So you and I will, let's say, eat a mango. And a mango gets transformed into us, right? Becomes eyes, nails, fingers. But that's not the only thing that, so metabolism or Agni, our digestive fire, is what digests things, takes one form and turns into us. But Agni is also important for mental functioning. We have this concept in a book, but that is not understanding in our head. We have to take that and we have to digest the knowledge in the book.
Wow.
So if you have problems with your Agni, then you can't understand things. The way that I use it is with trauma. So if you think about trauma, trauma is not digested. It is like a negative experience that lives within you and like messes you up. So what we need to do is digest that experience.
Gut-brain axis, gut health.
Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff around gut health too. That's not something I've really connected to Agni explicitly. I haven't been able to do that, but we can talk about gut brain.
Scientifically speaking.
Yeah. Yet. Yeah. So I'd have to think about that. But what I sort of think about is like, when we have a trauma, it's undigested. And even in psychotherapy, this is what I kind of love about my medical training is like, I realize, okay, there's a trauma that's in the mind that has not been processed. So in psychotherapy and psychiatry, we'll talk about emotional processing. What is processing? It's metabolism. So what I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, what would happen if I take someone with a trauma disorder and I teach them a Manipura chakra practice? Will their trauma get better faster than if I teach them mindfulness or something else? So it turns out that in clinical experience, it seems to work, but sample size is small, no official studies or anything like that. So that's the third chakra. Then the fourth chakra is our heart chakra. This is where we learn a lot of self-compassion, a lot of metta meditation comes from here. So it's like love and things like that. Then we come to the Vishuddha chakra. This one's super fun. This is about manifestation of energy in the external world. So if you sort of think about my capacity to make change outside of me actually comes from here. The power of our words, we think about your podcast, the work that I do. We're just talking. That's all we're doing. And yet people are being affected by this. So when I have patients who want to accomplish a lot, but they are not able to achieve what they want to achieve, then you do Vishuddha chakra practice. That's less related to psychiatry because usually people are coming to me with like addictions and trauma and depression and anxiety and things like that.
Lower chakra.
Lower chakras, exactly. So Vishuddha is a higher chakra. That's more when I do like coaching, like if I've got a client or patient who's like has a $100 million company and they want to turn it into a $1 billion company, then we do Vishuddha chakra practices. Then comes the Agnya chakra. This is the chakra of intuition. So Agnya chakra won't improve anything, won't fix anything, won't give you more money, won't improve your relationships. All it'll do is give you understanding of things. So you'll know how things work.
Better pattern recognition?
Absolutely. So way better pattern recognition. And so that's the sadhana that I primarily do in my life. So my teacher taught me, initiated me into Agnya chakra sadhana. So that's what I do. There are a handful of patients that I'll teach that to.
Thank you for consuming this clip, दोस्तों. अगर ऐसे ही और clips explore करने तो इस channel के playlists को ज़रूर explore करना.